refund of TDS under section 195 to the payer. Mark this word. So suppose there is an Indian company and there is a non-resident. This Indian company entered into a contract with non-resident, right? And in respect of this contract, for the payment it deducted certain TDS. Now this contract with the non-resident got cancelled, or it may have got revised, or there could be any other reason because of which the amount which was to be paid by this company to the non-resident is no longer payable. In such a case, under the Income Tax Act, generally the TDS has to be deducted at the time of credit or payment, whichever is earlier. So if for any reason the TDS was deducted and deposited by the Indian company and the contract got cancelled, which resulted in a higher deduction of TDS, then generally what is done is that the Indian company is allowed to claim the refund of this excess TDS. And the reason for that is, if the non-resident did not get income, he is obviously should be entitled to the credit for such TDS, right? So how that refund has to be obtained is what we are going to discuss now. TDS deducted, but consideration not payable later. So you deducted TDS, but later on you realize that the consideration is not supposed to be paid to the non-resident. In certain cases, TDS may have been deducted on the consideration payable to the non-resident, but thereafter such consideration may not remain payable to the non-resident due to the cancellation of the contract or any other reason. So like I said, there may be reasons because of which the consideration itself is no longer payable to the non-resident. If the consideration is not payable, then there should not be any deduction of TDS. In such a case, CBDT White Circular number 790 dated April 20, 2000 has laid down the procedure for making refund of such TDS by the payer. So the payer can claim a refund of such TDS, and the procedure has been given via this particular circular. Let's look at the conditions or the circumstances when such refund can be arising. TDS refund arises to a person deducting the tax at source from payment to non-resident in the following cases. The contract is cancelled and no remittances made to the non-resident. So A entered into a contract with B, right? It credited the amount, deducted TDS and deposited that with the government. But subsequently the contract was cancelled and there was no remittance made to B. The remittance is duly made to the non-resident, but the contract is cancelled. So suppose instead of credit, A had given an advance to B, and for such an advance TDS was deducted, because TDS has to be deducted at the time of credit or payment. But subsequently, before any work could be done, the contract was cancelled. In such cases, the remitted amount has been returned to the person responsible for deducting tax at source. So suppose if $50,000 is what A paid to B, right? Or let's say $50,000 was the invoice amount and A deducted $10K, 5K as TDS and remitted $45,000, then this $45,000 should have been returned back to A. The contract is cancelled after partial execution and no remittance is made to the non-residents for the non-executed part. So the contract was for $50,000. Let's say this contract was for not 50 but $100,000. For 50% of the work, $50,000 were remitted, right? After work was done equivalent to this, then the contract was cancelled and the balance 50,000 was not sent to the non-resident, right? The contract is cancelled after partial execution and remittance relating to non-executed part is made to the non-resident. Now in this case, if the entire 100,000 was paid as advance, even though the work that was done was only for $50,000, then what happens to the balance 50,000? which is relating to the non-execution part. Remitted amount has been returned to the person responsible for deducting tax at source. So the excess was $50,000. Now assuming out of the excess 5,000 was deposited as TDS and 45K was sent to the non-resident, this 45,000 which was remitted to the non-resident should have been returned to the payer. No remittance is made, but tax was deducted and deposited at the time of credit of the amount to the account of the non-resident. Now this is a case where this 5,000 was deposited at TDS, right? Because initially only you credited the entire 100,000 to the non-resident, but this 45,000 was not remitted. In other words, if you see, the crux of this point is that if any amount has been remitted to the non-resident relating to the non-executed part, that money should be brought back before a refund can be claimed. There occurs exemption of the remitted amount from tax either by amendment in law or by notification under the provisions of the Income Tax Act 1961. So suppose, again we'll take the same example, A had remitted to B $100,000. A deducted TDS taking a conservative stand amounting to $15,000. But once they had deducted $15,000, there was an amendment in the law which said that you should have deducted only $10,000. So the difference, which is $5,000, is something which should be refundable to A. An order is passed under section 154 or 248 or 264 of the Income Tax Act 1961, reducing the tax deduction liability of a deductor under section 195. So this could be a case where there was a continuing contract which spread over different years, right? In respect of one of the years where the TDS liability was fastened on the deductor, there is some order which is passed whereby, so let's say in year 1 the non-resident deducted 10%, but the government came back and said that it should not be 10, it should be actually, let's say, 30%. So therefore he deducted 30% in second year, but subsequently there was any of these orders whereby it was restored that the tax should be 10%. In such a case, the refund can be claimed for the balance 20. There is deduction of tax twice from the same income by mistake, obviously, then it has to be refunded. There is payment of tax on account of grossing up, which was not required under the provisions of the Income Tax Act 1961. The concept of grossing up we will cover separately, but what this basically means is that in some contract, let's say for example the contract was for $90,000 and the TDS was at the rate of 10%. B may tell A that I need a net amount in my bank of $90,000 and whatever is the TDS that you should bear, right? A felt that there should be a TDS reduction of 10%. And accordingly he paid 90K to B and paid the remaining TDS by additional TDS to the government. This is generally known as grossing up. If later it turns out that the grossing up was not required, then in such a case A can claim a refund of the TDS which they deducted. The calculation for grossing up we will look at in a different slide. There is a payment of tax at a higher rate under the domestic laws, while the lower rate is prescribed in the relevant double taxation avoidance treaty entered into by India. We know that a non-resident can opt for the provision of act or treaty, whichever are more beneficial. Suppose under the act the TDS on any payment is 20% and under the treaty it is 15%. The person who is deducting tax by mistake deducted 20%, but actually the rate under the treaty was lower. So in such a case he can claim a refund back for the remaining 5%. Now how can you claim the refund? The payer can apply for TDS refund with the approval of Chief Commissioner of Income Tax, right? Now such a refund can also be adjusted with the existing tax liability of the payer. The balance amount after adjustment would be refunded. So suppose the total amount of TDS deducted was 10,000. The existing tax liability of the payer was 5,000. The balance of 5,000, which is 10,000 minus 5,000, can be refunded. A separate refund voucher for existing tax would be prepared by the income tax department. The recording of adjustment or the refund of TDS should be done in the TDS return, right? If you're getting a refund for that, then that has to be reflected in your TDS returns as well. Existing tax liability and balance refund would be debited in same head which was selected at the time of payment. Now, some of the other conditions which are required to be satisfied for such a refund are as under. The first condition is that there is no TDS certificate which has been issued by the payer. The reason for this is that if the payer has issued a TDS certificate to the payee, a payee can file the return of income, right, and he can claim refund of such TDS. So in that case, the government would lose. Why? They would have given the refund of that back to the payee, as well as the payer would have claimed such a refund by application of these procedure. TDS refund should be granted only after obtaining an undertaking that no TDS certificate has been issued to the non-resident. But what if such a certificate has already been issued? In cases where such certificate has been issued, the person making the refund claim under section 195 should either obtain it, means he should ask the payee to give such certificate back, or should indemnify the income tax department from any possible loss on account of any separate claim of refund for the same amount by the non-resident. Now, this would have been possible when the physical TDS certificates were issued. If it is an e-certificate, then in that case, obviously this will be a little bit of a challenge, right? So therefore, an indemnity bond has to be given to the effect that if tomorrow someone claims a refund of this amount, the resident will pay that TDS refund back to the government. A TDS refund should be granted only if the non-resident deductee has not filed the return of income and the time of filing of return of income has expired. This is self-explanatory. Corresponding disallowance of expenses. The AO should also ensure that in refund case, corresponding disallowance of expense amount representing TDS refunded is paid. So suppose if you claim a deduction of 100, or actually 100 is the amount you paid to the non-resident, you deducted 10 as TDS and remitted 90 to the non-resident. The deduction which will be allowed to you will only be for 90. This corresponding amount will not be allowed as a deduction. Some of the other points that are worth knowing in respect of TDS refunds are as under. The time limit for filing TDS refund under section 195 shall be 2 years from the end of the financial year in which the tax is deducted at source. So if you deduct tax at source during financial year 2017-18, you can file the application for refund until 31/3/2020, 2 years from the end of the financial year. There is no interest which will be allowed to you under section 244A for refunds of TDS.